They do it, and now, like, Center has all their teachers like this. Like, I can go to, let's see,
Have a pen.
they will, because it's only just this year. Let's see if I.
Thank you.
This is Kears, I think. Maybe I don't have it.
All right, 7.
But
So I'm gonna
they
go.
They all do it.
Good evening and welcome to the Monday, October 28th, 2013 school committee meeting. This meeting is live and being recorded. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Long Meadow School Committee maintains educational policies that foster continuous improvement by challenging and supporting all children in a safe and caring learning environment, enabling them to reach their highest potential and to become productive citizens. Through effective communication and positive relationships, the Long Meadow School Committee will make informed decisions in the best interest of the students, the schools, and the Long Meadow community. Is there any correspondence?
There is an email from Michelle Seeger regarding the effects of the casino on the town budget.
At this time, I'll open it up to visitor comments. I see there's a lot of visitors in the room. I'm not sure if any of you plan on commenting. But if you do, please approach the table. And as always, state your name and address for the record. And because there's a larger crowd, I probably will limit comments to about 3 minutes, as long as that's, but we'll see how it goes.
Good evening. My name is Alex Grant. I live on Westmoreland Avenue. I'm a member of the Select Board. And I want to talk to you about the casino, and I'm going to urge you to approve a motion urging the Massachusetts Gaming Commission not to approve the Springfield Casino. There are a lot of things that can be said about this issue. You probably know about them a lot. There are a lot of negative effects. There's traffic, public safety, gambling addiction, property values going down. But what I'd like to do is be very specific about how these areas impact the schools. When we talk about traffic, think about what that really means. We're talking about more time in the car, commuting, and what that means is less time with children, less time to go to school events. I'll give you a very specific example. Today, during my lunch hour, I drove from my job in Springfield and was the lunchtime reader to my son's preschool class. I was able to do that because it's pretty easy to drive from Springfield to Longmeadow. I was able to do that during my lunch hour. But if you increase even 10 minutes each way for the commute, that's 10 minutes each way, 20 minutes a day that we're giving to the casino. That's 20 minutes less to spend on homework. That's 20 minutes less to attend a sports event. That's 20 minutes less to coach a soccer team. And in fact, those 20 minutes every day, just to use a very small number, could be the difference between being able to coach that soccer team and not. And so that has a very negative effect on our children, and I think that's something the school committee ought to be particularly concerned about. Now, when we talk about property values, what we're really talking about is money out of the pockets of Longmeadow taxpayers. The ability of Longmeadow taxpayers to pay their property taxes means a limited ability to fund school activities. And that's going to have a direct effect on our ability to fulfill the educational mission that you all have set forth. When we talk about public safety, keep in mind that the casino will be serving drinks 18 hours a day. That's 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. That means more DUIs, and it means more danger for our kids who are driving on the roads. And I'd like to just make a final point. I introduced a similar motion to the Select Board at our last meeting. It was defeated at that time 1-4. I was the one. And one of the things that was concerning to the select board was a letter that we received from our council urging us not to take a stand. I think that's the wrong view. But rest assured that that letter said nothing negative about our ability to negotiate a mitigation agreement should we take a position. There was a lot of generality about everyone having an equal voice, which really was sort of illogical. They're good attorneys, but I'm not sure that this letter was really anything that they were supposed to be involved in. But don't be concerned about our ability to negotiate an appropriate mitigation agreement because we're prepared to take a position. The fact is, you all are going to take a position next week at town meeting. That's inescapable. So rather than follow, I would urge you to lead. Thank you.
Thank you. And just state your name and address for the record when you get settled.
My name is Judith Pullman, and I live at 165 Congress Street in Long Meadow. I'm not used to public speaking. I'll say that right off, and I don't have a whole lot to say, but I do want to tell you that I'm a member of Long Meadow Transition, which is a local organization. It's part of an international organization which supports the decrease in the use of fossil fuels. It supports businesses and encourages local businesses and encourages sustaining agriculture and a healthy environment. The increase in air pollution from the projected 30% increase in traffic and the loss of businesses that a destination casino brings conflict with the goals of the Long Meadow Transition. And so that's basically what I have to say about that. And then in addition and separate from Long Meadow Transition, I wanted to speak as a former visiting nurse, where I went into the city and around the community visiting people who were ill. Pioneer Valley has a lot of respiratory disease, and it has a very high incidence of asthma in children. And with the increase in air pollution from this 30% increase in traffic, there's going to be an increase in asthma. There's no doubt about it. The asthma is caused, one of the causes of asthma is specifically from exhaust fumes from cars. So you combine this carbon pollution with hot, humid days and so on, we're going to have a lot of we're going to have a lot more incidents of respiratory disease in our community, and that includes Long Meadow, even though it's technically not part of Pioneer Valley. Its air does rise, and we're very close to it. So that's all I have to say, and that will affect our students.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Hi, I'm Laura Broad. I taught at Center School for 28 years. Hi, Mikey Clark.
How are you?
I didn't have the pleasure of having you in my class, but I know someone who did.
Me too.
Right. Anyway, I am really concerned about the safety of the children in our town with this influx of who knows who coming through Long Meadow Street and all over town. It was in the last few years of my teaching that we did have to learn about and engage in lockdown procedures. And I know that that's just a thing to be taken for granted, sadly enough, at this stage of the game all over the country and even world. But I really think that we are just asking for disaster, even in just this regard, the safety of our schools and of our kids in in our 3 elementary schools, 2 middles, and our high school. And I would really appreciate consideration being given to that element as well as everything else. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Hi there. My name is Betsy Port, and I live at 212 Farmington Road, and I have lived in Long Meadow for 17 years. 17 years ago was 1996. There was something called the internet that was brand new, but there was no real estate listings at that point, and email was in its infancy. My husband and I were living in the state of Kentucky, and he was looking for a job. We had an opportunity in Springfield, we had an opportunity in Chicago, and an opportunity in Phoenix, Arizona. Obviously, we picked this place. In those days, the way to get information, since there was no internet, was to talk to people. And hands down, everybody we talked to said, if you're moving to Springfield, you must live in Long Meadow. It was the reputation of the school system that brought us to this town. We looked in Wilbraham, we looked in East Long Meadow, and basically I fell in love with the historical and the quaint aspects of this town. But it was the school system that convinced us that this was the right place for us. At that point in time, I had a 1-year-old child and a 5-year-old child. Both of them are much older now. One is in college and one has graduated from college. Basically, this town is the school system. The school system is the heart and the soul of the whole community. And I think we need to protect our reputation and protect our children. And if a casino comes here, I think that would be very, very negative. And I think we are looking for leadership. We're looking for the people who run this town to speak up, take a stand. And I hope that the school committee is able to see that it's time that they spoke up. Don't wait for the election, because obviously your vote will count that night, next Tuesday. But I would like to see people who are in leadership positions taking a stand before that time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Please.
Yeah. Henry Cropsey, 862 Long Meadow Street, and I only have one thing to add to what everyone else has so eloquently said, which is that I think there's a perception throughout the media and throughout a lot of people I've been talking about this issue that this is inevitable, that the casino is going to happen and we are going to have to live with it. And what people are ignoring in that, well, first off, obviously, there's a huge incentive on the media's part and a lot of the powers that be to create this perception, because if people don't show up and vote, then they will be proven correct. So one of the things I wanted to just highlight was November 5th is the annual not the annual, but our next town meeting. There is a warrant article on to vote in favor of or against the casino. The surrounding community's input, the way the statute is written, is something that has to be taken into consideration when the ultimate decision is made by the commission, whether or not to award or not award the casino license. And so if, East Long Meadows obviously already had their meeting, they voted no. West Springfield is also voting on November 5th. A lot of the other area communities are voting as well. And if all the area communities say no, it's going to be very hard for the commission to just say, oh, we can disregard everybody else and vote yes on this. So I just want to urge everyone, not only here at this committee, but people listening tonight, that it's very important to go to the November 5th town meeting. I've been myself on occasion where there have been 60 or 70 people. That's not going to be an acceptable number for this type of situation. Thank you for your consideration, and again, I do urge the committee to listen to what people are saying and to come out in a leadership position on this, because we need all the leaders we can get. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other visitor comments tonight? Okay. Seeing... Not yet. Sorry. Seeing none, we're going to move into school committee comments. And just so all of you know, procedurally, school committee comments is a point in time where we'll make announcements to the community or talk about things going on the board that the board should know about. And then part of our agenda is to speak to this. So we're not skipping over it. I'm just going down the agenda. So give me a minute or two, and we'll get to this topic. And so I will open it up to school committee comments. John.
I'd like to thank everyone for showing up this evening. It's always pleasant to realize that what you're doing is noticed by people and appreciated. There will be a resolution that I'm going to be presenting again tonight. It was presented at last week's, or at our 2 weeks ago meeting, in opposition to a casino in Springfield. We're going to ask the Gambling Commission to refuse to give one to Springfield, and we're also going to send this to the Select Board as an additional reminder of where we stand. So, and we'll publicize it. So, thank you for coming out this evening.
Okay. Any other school committee comments? Kim?
Doesn't have to be about the casino, right?
Nope.
I went to the my first ever chamber music concert
Yes.
the other day, and I want to say how fabulous they were. And I haven't experienced the Long Meadow Music Department yet, and I brought my 6-year-old, and she was so excited. So I just want to say, great job, kids, not kids, teenagers, and I thought it was just great.
Fantastic. And anybody else? Good. I'd just like to remind everyone that the Leaf Gala is this coming Saturday night at the Basketball Hall of Fame. And if you have not bought your tickets yet, please do. It's going to be a great night. Lots of auction items, and it should be a lot of fun. It always is. And obviously, it all goes towards a really great cause, which is students of Long Meadow. So with that, we will move on to old business. And I'm going to hand it over to John to talk about the resolution that he's drafted, and then we'll discuss whether or not we agree with how it's written or what we want to do.
Okay, well, now phrase it in the form of a motion. I move the committee accept the following resolution and pass it on as indicated. The Long Meadow School Committee wishes to go on record in opposition to the placement of a gambling casino in the city of Springfield. We urge all citizens of Long Meadow to attend the fall town meeting scheduled for Tuesday, 5 November 2013 at 7 p.m. at the high school, and to vote in opposition to the placement of a gambling casino in the city of Springfield. We further urge the Massachusetts Gaming Commission not to approve the placement of a gambling casino in the city of Springfield. Our reasons for taking this position are simply stated. A gambling casino promotes irrationality, immorality, greed, crime, and malevolent and antisocial behaviors. These are not the values that the Long Meadow Public Schools attempt to cultivate in our students. 2, the mission statement of our strategic plan on page 5 reads, Long Meadow Public Schools will prepare learners to achieve their full potential, contribute to a global community, cultivate confident critical thinkers and problem solvers, create and maintain a safe environment, develop the skills and habits of mind for lifelong learning. A gambling casino in Springfield promotes none of these values or ideals. A gambling casino in Springfield would have a negative effect on Long Meadow property values, and this would have a malignant effect on our ability to support our schools in the manner that Long Meadow citizens have historically demanded and require for the education of our children. A gambling casino in Springfield will increase the amount of traffic on Long Meadow streets and highways. With the increase in traffic will come an increase in air pollution and the potential for an increase in the number of automobile accidents and injuries. This will also have a negative impact on our community and our property values. Given these concerns, the Long Meadow School Committee hereby goes on record in opposition to the location of a gambling casino in the city of Springfield. We urge the citizens of the town of Long Meadow to join us and let their concerns be known at fall town meeting. A copy of this resolution will be forwarded to both the Select Board and the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. Thank you.
A motion, do I have a second to put it on the floor?
Second.
Kim seconded. All right, discussion. Jim?
Hey, John, I looked through this and I looked through the links. And I guess from a strength basis of the memo, if we have some facts around the statements made in items 1 through 4, or 5, I'm sorry, around some real numbers. For example, when we say increased traffic, I know we're all saying that, I know we all assume it, but are there any facts that would support that kind of statement?
Well, the traffic studies
Yeah.
haven't been released yet, so we don't have that empirical evidence.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you can build a rational model if you just look at the kind of traffic increase when we get, for example, in the Columbus Day weekend, traffic backed up on Route 91, and then it backed up on Route 5. So that's just, extrapolating from that kind of a model, you can see what, on top of the Big E and on top of weekend traffic, what a casino would bring.
Yeah, I guess my point is, can you keep asking?
Yes, please.
My point really is I'm, number one, not in favor of casinos, so let me make that clear with you. But to build the argument around a letter that can't be picked at, we ought to put some facts in it. The emotion's in the letter, that's clear. But there can be a lot of, and I know that folks here don't support the casino. There might be a counter to this outside this room that do support a casino, and it becomes just an emotional argument versus one based around, let me tell you what will happen with property values. If I went to another town, here's what happened to them. Or if I went to a town in New Jersey where they have the casinos in Atlantic City, here's what happened to them. I mean, it makes it a stronger argument than the emotion just bouncing off of each other. And I think if we phrase it that way, when we gave it to the select board and other people, they can't debate those facts. And Alex, if he's still here somewhere, said the select board chose not to go support a motion. Don't quite understand the rationale, but let's say if we give them a letter, we ought to say, here are some facts around this that you ought to use and rethink your position. As well as when we go to the town meeting, we can use something that would support it. Again, my position is I'm against a casino. Just as putting a position paper forward, we ought to put some more facts around it than just a motion.
Okay, well, in terms of facts, there is a film that was put together by an anti-casino group, and there's a website, nocasinospringfield.com, where you can listen to
So
actual
right.
testimony from the people who live next to
Which I
them.
did. So I think we can take, because you sent me the links, and I think we could take either quotes from or data from, because there's a Wall Street Journal thing in there, and say, for example, as quoted in Wall Street Journal, I can't remember the date now, XYZ article, this will happen, this is what happens.
Okay, well, again, that is the article that
Excuse
I
me.
sent to folks.
Yep.
The Wall Street Journal did a study, and it's available for anyone who wants to read it. 11 October 2013, how often do gamblers really win? And it analyzed the irrationality that lies behind the operation of a gambling casino. The people who set these things up know that the gamblers are going to lose. The house is going to win. Yet they give the illusion through advertising and other appeals, and cheap drinks, continuous drinks, no clocks in a casino, that you're living in a world where you can get rich gambling. That's an appeal to irrationality. Okay? Now, I don't have a traffic study to back it up, but I think I've given you a rational model of what we can expect. If there's another tourist attraction in Springfield, it's going to bring more traffic to the town of Long Meadow.
Kim?
I hope that's an answer.
I think that Jim's just asking us to rephrase them a little bit with, say, and I think, tell me if you're if I'm wrong, but if I'm read your article, it says, number one, the gambling casino promotes irrationality, immorality, sorry,
Excuse me.
greed, crime, malevolent and antisocial behaviors. And then we could possibly, so I have this Connecticut study from 2009, Spectrum Gaming Group put together. And I just lost my page, but it basically talks about domestic violence rates.
Right. So you can use that kind of data to support the,
And say-
in the letter.
And just add a little sentence in here that says that, for instance, in Connecticut, there was a family violence rate, there's a chart here. It says from 1993 to 2005, nationally, family violence actually went down in the nation from 540,000 to 205 in 2002. In Connecticut, it actually stays about the same. So that's a state that's got the casinos. I mean, I haven't gone and looked at Vegas and all the other states, but I'm just saying I think that's what you're
That's
looking for.
my point, Kim, is that way it's not just an emotional statement, right? It's one supported with at least one or two pieces
Right.
of data, so that when we get in front of the town, or we get in front of the select board, wherever they happen to be, and they actually don't agree, you can say, look, here is something you ought to go read. Besides just disagreeing with me, here's some facts, and so if you want to find counter facts, peace, but otherwise, you ought to, it's a logical argument that way.
Well,
Yeah.
in response to that, this is a resolution. This isn't a scientific document being put forward. This is a position statement where we say, this is how we feel. And if someone wants to respond, and I hope that they do, then they can counter this with their own resolution. Or they can say,
Yeah.
we reject your
I'm
resolution.
talking just one more statement at a
But-
time. One more thing, John, I'm gonna stop debating with you. I think, all my background, of course, is in engineering, right? So all of my arguments start with some logic statement and numbers. And so if I can feel emotion in a lot of things, but I try to support myself through either some data. And so I can make a resolution that's either emotional or one with data. And you can come back with one that's either emotion or data. But if they're both emotional, all we're gonna do is argue with each other. That's my whole point. We need to find some ground of which we can say, yeah, that's kind of what's gonna happen. And other than that piece, I mean, I can vote with the rest of these guys one way or the other, but that's kind of my headset here.
Janet?
At the last meeting when this was initially proposed, I had brought this up, and I know several members of the committee were not here, so I wanted to reiterate, is that I still have concerns on whether this is underneath our umbrella of our duties and operations. Based on our mission statement, that we're preparing learners to achieve their full potential, contribute to the global community, cultivate confident critical thinkers and problem solvers, create and maintain a safe environment, develop the skills and habits of mind for lifelong learning. I think that our job as school committee members, we're doing that. We do provide a safe environment for these students, no matter what's happening in the community, whether, in light of Sandy Hook, whether a casino comes in, we are doing everything we can to make our students safe and provide them a safe spot to be in. But as a member of the school committee, putting my personal feelings aside, my position is we're needing to, based on our mission statement, is to focus on a lot of other areas. I'm not certain that it's our position or it's our responsibility to take a position on the casino issue. Voters are going to make that decision at the fall town meeting. So I'm still unclear and uncertain whether this is something we should be taking a stand on or not.
John?
Well, if you're raising an epistemological question about whether we should or should not do something, there's lots of examples where groups have gone on record. For example, at the time of the Iraq War, there was a group of people put a resolution before town meeting in opposition to the Iraq War. And people stood up then and said, that's not within the purview of town meeting. And town of Long Meadow can't have a foreign policy. Well, that resolution passed that meeting and was sent on to the officials who represent us in government. You can argue, I think, with a very narrow vision of what the school system is, that we should not get involved in this. But the empirical fact is, if there's a casino in Springfield, we're going to have more traffic in Long Meadow, more drunken drivers if they follow that 8 o'clock in the morning to 2 a.m. And that's going to pose a threat to the students, okay? So I think it's in our role as school committee people to anticipate problems and point it out to the community and let people go to the fall meeting and vote it up or down as they see fit according to their judgment of what is right and proper.
Kim?
So, I think I raised last time, one of my concerns was the property values. I saw in the information piece that we had. It says, "Why Casinos Matter, report from the Council on Casinos." It mentioned the same thing about property values. Let's see. Recent study released by the National Association of Realtors says that the impact of prospective casino on the local housing market is ambiguously negative. Research conducted for realtors in Western Massachusetts, where a new regional casino is slated for construction, found that homeowners in the host community, I know we're not the host community, but they said they would experience $1,600 to $3,300 in loss in value. I'm just thinking about our homes. If we don't have an increase in property values, we actually have a decrease in property values. That means we're going to have a decrease in budget. I know our budget is extremely tight now. I think about this other thing that I'm reading about the emotional strain on a child of a gambler, how they do poorly in school, they manifest behavior problems in the classroom, failing to graduate with a casino so close. I know they target like a 15-mile radius. Let's see, one of the other things that I'm thinking about less income into our schools and children with issues that we might have to now address that we don't address right now. One of the quotes that I was reading in here, it says, "As a child in the school system, you're going to hear, if your parents are getting a divorce, we have help for you. If your parent is an alcoholic or an addict, we have help for you. If you're struggling with virtually any problem in your home, there's something here for you. But you're not going to hear, if you have a parent or grandparent or a sibling who is a gambler, there's help for you." So we're going to have to readjust our thinking with our adjustment counselors. Are we going to need a few more adjustment counselors in the system to help deal with this possible issue now in the school district? And I know that we can't afford adding more at this point, so I can't imagine trying to add more with a decreased budget. And then having children in our schools that are now dealing with these, they're more of a silent issue, the domestic violence issue is what they're saying here, is it's more of a something that doesn't come out. It's not as prevalent as, say, an alcoholic parent. So it's not going to affect the kids. We're not going to see it as clearly. So I'm just thinking about that part of it as well. And I don't know that we're ready to address that with gamblers around.
I guess I'd like to hit 2 points. One is Janet's point, and I understand what you're saying, first of all, as far as the overall, is the school committee, at least within their, I'll say, legal bounds of making a statement. But that doesn't bother me too much, to be honest. A few people here have talked about the leadership involved. We are a position representing at least a good part of the town.
Whole town.
Our position, I think, encumbers us at least to give our thoughts on the issue. And and people can agree or disagree, and they'd agree or disagree at town meeting, and and call it a day. So I do think we should make our opinion known, whether we agree with it or not. I mean, we can all vote. And I don't think that violates anything, in our purview of responsibility. To your point, I actually am looking for more data like that. However, it's interesting that from a gambling perspective, and I agree, some people have severe gambling problems, but those who do, we only actually live about an hour and a half to 2 hours away from casinos as it is. So those who really have a significant problem probably are there. Not that it doesn't make it a whole lot easier if you're 5 minutes away. So I'm not sure that would be something that will be as severe as we think it might be. But I don't know. So truthfully, I don't know. But it would be something we'd have to deal with. Again, my own personal view is that I'm against the casinos in general. Forget just in general. I don't like them. I don't think they add any value to anybody. I would only say that our resolution or anything we put forward to anybody ought to be supported with some of our thoughts, and then again let the town decide.
Janet, then Liz.
Well, one article, I've been looking for scientific, factual-based studies rather than emotional propaganda-type materials. And one of the studies I found, the Casino Gamble in Massachusetts, a full report and appendices, was written in 2005 by students at Harvard and Dartmouth. And their conclusion was, and this is specifically regarding the state of Massachusetts, that for over a decade, advocates and opponents of casinos in the Commonwealth have argued about whether legalized gambling would produce prosperity or ruin. Our analysis indicates that at the county level, where any positive or negative effects are likely to be concentrated, casinos would only have relatively minor effects. On the positive side, they may create more jobs and are likely to attract more residents. However, since the increase in jobs and population are about equal, jobless rates are not likely to change dramatically in the area with new casinos. On the negative side, total crime may increase, but the increase appears to be due solely to the increase in population. Bankruptcies are likely to rise in counties with casinos, but the total number of people affected by this increase is relatively small. Perhaps the most surprising is that casinos appear to have little or no effect on home values, at least in populous counties, or on total spending for either policing or roads. They do not seem to impact per pupil spending on education. These findings do not mean that casino gambling is a trivial issue, only that employment, finances, and crime are insufficient rationales for deciding whether to deny or allow casinos in Massachusetts. And they have about 7 pages of referenced material within their whole paper. That is just their conclusion. But I think, like's been said, you can find arguments either way to support your position. This is just an argument to show the opposite side of the coin. So there's plenty of information out there both ways.
I just wanted to say that I agree with Jim, and then maybe we should have just a little more factual stuff into that resolution. But I also wanted to say that I just looked up and quickly, 6 communities in Massachusetts have taken a stand or passed a resolution against casinos. So it is allowed.
Superintendent Doyle?
I'd just like to go on record as supporting this motion. I think that people come to Long Meadow because their children can ride bikes to school and they can walk to school, and you see that no matter what corner you go to, with crossing guards still there. It's right now, because the crossing guards, it's safe, but I think if you increase traffic, you're really going to have a situation where kids maybe can't ride their bikes to school and walk if you have a lot more traffic. The other thing is we talk about morality, and is gambling the thing that we really want to make our children aware of at such an early age? So for those reasons, I support this motion.
Sure.
One final comment, I guess, is if we really want to do a scientific experiment, we could check assault and battery and all kinds of social indicator rates right now, and then go ahead and open the casino in Springfield and measure the increase. That's how you do an experiment, right? A human experiment. But what if it's a tremendous cost? Lives lost, destroyed, etc. Is that the kind of scientific procedure you really want to endorse for this kind of a question? It seems to me it's a policy question. And so you can call it emotional, but I would call it ethical, morality. Are you prepared to see some increase in revenue for the state, which, by the way, is dubious because of the number of casinos that are opening. But suppose it does raise more money for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. What's the impact on the lives of the people in Springfield and our direct concern in Long Meadow from such an operation? So if you want to call it emotional, go ahead, you can use that language. But do you really want to do a scientific study? And then, of course, would you be able to stop the experiment if it's shown to be failing? Well, you can't do that. So we can only anticipate on the basis of rational models and looking at past experience. Look at Atlantic City, New Jersey. Look at Las Vegas. Is that what we want to see Springfield emerge into? I don't think so. But that's a judgment.
Katie?
Through feedback from surrounding towns in Connecticut, the impact on schools was great and long-lasting, according to officials in towns surrounding Montville, where the tribal casinos were. The biggest issue was the cost to schools to increase services for students, because casino workers were coming in and coming into town, not wanting to live in the direct town that the casino was in, so they chose surrounding towns. But then the increase in needed services for students with special needs and ELL students was over $1 million in one of the larger towns. It also, they felt that there was more pressure and burden put on local police, and it took that away from the services that they were providing to the schools, because their attention was having to go to people who were drunk driving or just speeding through the town to avoid highways where they thought it would be easier to kind of sneak through. It just, we're not going to find a lot, there's two sides to every story, so whatever study you find, there's going to be another study released by, some organization. And I think that simply saying, like, as a school committee, we think it's bad for our schools, it puts pressure on our schools that doesn't need to be there, without providing, numbers and hardline data that, MGM can produce a study from somewhere saying, nuh-uh. But, and we can go back and forth on the studies.
So Katie, to that point, then we ought to rewrite this to say that, because you make statements that are not factually supported. So it's easier to say, you know what, just because our strategic plan says we've got to create a moral environment for our students, and we believe that a casino will degrade that environment. We believe, not fact, we believe, that's end of story, and we do not support a casino, is.
Well, yeah, I think not just the moral environment, but
stops
the safety issues
and
and
back and forth
the potential of
stuff.
putting a burden on the school system as
John,
well.
to your point, the social experiments have been done. It doesn't have to be done in town. They've been done in communities all over this country, unfortunately, right, which create the data that says they're good or bad. Right? And I think they're bad across the board. They don't create economic environments that people enjoy. They don't create social environments people enjoy. So we don't have to experiment here. They've been done. So we either just reference a couple, or to Katie's point, we just say, here's, our general feelings. This sucks, so we don't want to do it, so let it go. I mean, period. I guess I've made my point too many times, so I'll stop now, and we can vote whenever you want to vote.
All right, I'm going to weigh in for just a second because I'll let everybody else go first. I agree with John, and to the extent that because this is a question before the town at town meeting, we should take a position. I think that, as we heard tonight, people are looking to us for some sort of leadership, and that's important. And it's important because they asked for it, and it's important because, that's what we're here to do. We're here to lead. I did have the opportunity to speak with a very nice woman in the Montville Public Schools today. And, I was asking her the questions that we are all wondering. What did you see when Mohegan Sun opened? What did you see, what occurred? And she told me that they have 47 ELL students in their elementary school.
That's because
Native Chinese speaking, or Mandarin speaking, I should say.
the problem is they can't, because workers from other countries can't afford to live in Montville, so they go next door to Norwich, or they go, it's the impact on surrounding communities too. It's not just Montville that is.
And, and obviously I didn't call surrounding communities, but I explained to her, what our concern, what the general concern was, and, I talked to her about our scenario. And what I kind of determined from speaking with her is maybe she wasn't the right person to talk to, but also, but that, I'm not sure how relevant of an example that is per se, because what she said that really struck me was these people have been part of our community since the beginning of our community. And so the transition to opening a casino with them is, they were here. This is where they're from. This isn't where MGM is from. And so there's no real corollary there. So, I thought about that for a minute. On the other hand, I do agree with Jim that we do need to be a little more factual in some manner, which is not to say that I don't support this resolution, because I would like to put a resolution in front of town meeting. And so I would propose that we pass a resolution on, we pass a resolution, but that we pass a resolution with the caveat that John and Jim sit down this week and hammer it out. and get it out by the end of the week, so that both sides are represented on what you're looking for. And I don't know if that's a fair middle ground. I don't know if that's the right thing to propose, but I think it's, I think that's a good step forward, because I would like to see something more, less from the gut and more, based in fact. But at the same time, what you wrote does say something, and it says something important, and I think it says what I want it to say to a degree. So that's kind of where I fall.
Well, can I point out parliamentary procedure? We have a motion on the floor. Are you making an amendment?
I can't make an amendment. I'm just letting you know what I'm looking for, or what I would look for as a member of the board, not as chair, that's just something, that's just me thinking out loud. So if that's something you're open to, I'm happy to entertain an amendment.
If you want, we can add this packet that was sent in by, and I hope everyone got it, Why Casinos Matter, and it's called 31 Evidence-Based Propositions from the Health and Social Sciences, Studying the Impact of Gambling on the American Way of Life. And it starts off with the claim that about 30 years ago, there were only 2 major cities in the United States that were gambling, Las Vegas, Nevada, and Atlantic City, New Jersey. Since then, it's spread to something like 26 states, and it's been all over the place. I mean, the city of Detroit recently declared bankruptcy, but they had a huge casino, and I think the casino is still functioning, even though the city's bankrupt. And stop and think about that.
Yeah, John, I've got
Okay.
a proposal for you. I think that let me get this a little bit out of my way here, so I can read through here. The first paragraph, I would propose this, or make an amendment, I'm not too sure what the right terminology is. So I'm going to propose an amendment to your motion. I don't know, we didn't vote on the first one, so we might have a problem here, but.
We can amend it.
So if we took the first paragraph, the Long Meadow School Committee wishes, paragraph, where that starts, right? Our reasons for taking this position are simply stated and supported by the attached documents. If we want to attach some documents, right? So
Attach this one.
our reasons for taking this position are simply stated below, and supported by the attached documents, right?
Okay.
I think that puts the data you're using anyway into this situation, right? That if people want to, and we can reference it that way,
Okay.
right? And then,
In the interest of moving along, sure.
and that
I'll
way,
accept that.
and that way it's there, and we can work the words, mainly because the town meeting is like right around the corner, right? I mean, and if we want to get something out, we have to get it out like now.
Mhm.
And I think that does at least provide a database to go talk about.
Janet?
I like the idea, Jim, of having, factual information. I'm a little concerned about attaching this document because this was written by the Institute for American Values, which in and of itself is biased. Perhaps doing something that is more research, I'm like you, research and
Unfortunately, yeah.
scientific based, might be a little more comfortable for me, but when I was looking at this packet, when I went to their website, it is, and not that I necessarily disagree with them, but if you're looking at things objectively, it is a more biased institution in general.
Yeah, I would agree, but if you take that with the Wall Street Journal article and maybe what you have referenced. which
I'll
I
be
haven't-
happy
which
to
I
give
haven't
you the
read, you can
articles
put
that
that
I
in,
have.
and at least it provides the basis, that if people want to look at it, they can. But the resolution points that John makes, at least items 1 through 4 here, without the commentary below, I think would be, in my opinion, something we could support. I could support, I shouldn't say we, I could
Right.
support.
No, I think if we're going to add documents to attach to it, I would be comfortable with, either sharing websites of both, or,
Right.
because the documents that I have are, 60 and 80-page studies that were done.
So maybe we do that, would you guys support that? So maybe we do that, John, would you be okay with that amendment? as
So you're
amended?
saying what, attach Why Casinos Matter and...
We'd support a couple,
the
we
others?
will add a couple of attachments between, what you have and what Janet has. And then so it would be, the sentence that would change would be, our reasons for taking this position are simply stated below and supported by the documentation attached. or attached documentation. I'm not too sure which way that goes from
Attached
English terms.
documents?
Something like that, right?
The attached documents.
Right.
And supported by the attached
Right,
documents.
right.
So we'll include Why Casinos Matter, we'll include the Wall Street Journal article,
And something.
and Janet's,
The casino gamble in Massachusetts.
I've also got a National Gambling Impact Study Commission report.
And then we can, then people,
Throw it
if
in the
they
pile.
choose to,
Okay.
they can look at it.
Liz, is that the one by Adam Rose and Associates?
Don't know, that's all I know it's called.
Okay, I've got that one as well.
We just sent out the one that has like just the feedback from surrounding towns, from casinos in Connecticut that
So then we could have, we can attach it, whatever, we can attach a series and you can put it out wherever it goes.
okay,
So you okay with that amendment, John?
That's fine.
All
okay.
right, so I don't know how we do that.
And do we want to amend it so that the second page is not on there, just simply
I
because?
would make the comment. take the
Yeah, you want to take the
comments
commentary off?
off. Yeah.
Well, I didn't read the commentary,
I would
but,
take the comment there.
Okay, so then we won't include it because it wasn't part of the motion.
Right, and then everything else would be there.
So, can I have an amendment?
I move that
You said just
we-
as amended?
As amended, how about that?
So I have a motion, okay,
You have a motion on the table that's seconded,
yeah,
and now you want to amend that motion?
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, so we're gonna vote on the amended motion. Do we do that? We did this once before, you have to
Yeah.
think about the.
Okay. I know, I do.
So we're gonna vote on the amended motion,
And that's it.
and that's it, and then we're done.
Okay.
So motion as amended. All right, so, to reiterate, we have an amendment on the floor. Did I get a second to that amendment? Okay, I have an amendment, it's been seconded, which would include the document titled "A Resolution by the Long Meadow School Committee," with the changes stated by Jim, and the documents identified and attached at this meeting.
All right,
And that is the motion that
go out.
we will vote on.
Right.
And so, can I have,
well, you vote on the amendment.
yeah, that's the amendment, I should
Then
say.
you vote on the motion as amended.
So can I have a vote on the amendment?
No second, right?
We already have a second.
All right, so.
All those in favor?
So-
So the motion to amend has passed. Can I have all those in favor on the motion? As amended?
As amended.
The motion carries.
So it's unanimous.
Unanimous vote of the school committee. God, we can make your night. Well, thank you guys very much for coming. If you want to stay, we have plenty more exciting stuff coming up. Is that right, Adrian? All right. In the interest of getting people who want to watch the Red Sox game out of here,
You've got 8 minutes.
we've got 8 minutes. All right, so I'm going to reshuffle the agenda a little bit, and I'm going to invite Rob Killam up from Whitson's. And so Whitson's, obviously, as everybody knows, is our new food service vendor, and we're excited to have them, and we've made Joseph go buy lunch several times. And so, tonight we asked you to come to kind of just introduce yourself, introduce the company, and talk about some of the things that you've been doing to make school lunch just that much better.
My name's Rob Killam. Work for Whitson's Culinary Group in the school, the nutrition division. So basically what we're trying to do is make sure that the Long Meadow students and adults that are in the schools are getting a better product and getting a more nutritious option in their, in the food that we can provide. We have gone into all of the schools and the satellites that we're working with, and we have increased on some levels, stayed the same on others, but the trend is an increase across the board. We're trying to bring in new ideas and just basically up the excitement. We've had a couple of different food bars, just to try to, like I said, it's to make it so that the food aspect, with all the studies that go out there of the connection between a healthy mind and a healthy body, we're making it so that when the kids come down to the cafeterias, it's no longer the stereotypical cafeteria food. It's not like that anymore. It's fresh, it's healthy, and we're open to any sort of input that we get from, whether it be from the school board or from parents or anybody else. Our Whitson's is premier in the public side of school nutrition, and we have a lot of I have a lot of backup and support from the company, as well as, just surrounding communities. So that's basically what we're trying to do. And as we go forward, it's hopefully just going to keep increasing.
Great. Joseph?
Today, Chip Witches came back
Yes.
to the snack department, and there was an uproar of excitement, so I asked that those stay. Thank
You're
you.
welcome for the ice cream. I thought that you guys would be happy about that.
Janet?
I'd just like to say personally, as a parent, my children are loving it. I feel that I have boys who are buying lunches. They're very happy with the portion sizes. They're actually full with their meal. But to also let you know, I heard from a parent whose child needs to manage their diet in terms of different amounts of intake, and they love the interactive menu where they can plan and they can go on together and see, okay, well, you can order this for lunch today, and if they don't have that, then you could do this or this or this as a backup. And so that parent was thrilled because now her child feels, that, yay, I can bring, I don't have to bring my lunch every day, and I don't have to, just eat certain things. So they like the interactive, the menu, so I wanted to share that.
Well, good. And that's one of the reasons that the company does it, is so that obviously we're in the National School Lunch Program and we have to follow the regulations. But in order to do that and prove that we're doing it, we're sticking to those recipes. So what we say we're doing is what we're doing. And the hovering aspect of our menus is a huge plus, and I've heard that as well. Just talking with parents over the last couple of weeks, I've heard a lot of good reviews. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be some sort of upheaval, but 2 months in, I think we're headed down a good road.
Great. Do I have any other questions for Rob? Kim?
I have to ask, I'm from Blueberry.
I put a second pin pad in today.
I tried to get down there today, but actually had car issues, so I couldn't get down there before this meeting. I know a couple of parents that were complaining were very excited about that, but I have to ask about the Doritos. Were they removed at all yet from the
They are
line?
on the approved list of snacks.
They are?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a reduced fat option. It's not the full fat Dorito. It's on the approved list of,
Okay.
from the Institute, that we're actually allowed to use.
Okay. That just seems, like every meeting, that seems to come up. Why are there Doritos at the checkout? I'm like, I don't know. I can find out for you.
Right.
And now I have an answer. What else? Fruit. I know we had it in cellophane wrappers in a bowl at checkout before. It seems to have gone away, maybe because it wasn't selling.
It's inside,
It's inside, but
and it can be back out at the register.
There-
That's perfectly, yeah.
that was their, I'm sorry
The
to be
caveat to
such
the Doritos is
individual
the-
requests, I'm sorry. But I
that's fine.
figured while I have you here.
Mhm.
It's just, we get, 30 parents in a room and they all decide to talk to me, which is good. I hope that
It
they
is.
continue. So we just want to bring the fruit bowl back out by the register to make it an option for the kids when they're checking out, that they can't choose just chips, they can choose chips or
Maybe put the
fruit.
chips in the bag.
Well, maybe we could, I don't know, it just seems, parents at the beginning wanted to see if they could come out to the front, and it was there for a while, now it's not, so that's all.
It will be back out front tomorrow.
And I
Joyous.
think that's about it for now.
So,
One thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Is, part of the financial report would be some of the food services, since we have Rob here. Our view is, as Rob just said, they're doing well from the total meals being purchased are improving over time. High school has still a little bit ways to go, but it's improving. So my comment, my view is they appear to be doing the correct things, and they are not financially on plan, but hopefully over the next little bit, we'll get on financial plan, right? So we're running a few thousand behind plan. So hopefully that's going to come into place, and as Tom and myself and Marie John on the Fin sub meetings, and Liz, or Liz is here, on the Fin sub meeting, we will see a path to success, but we'll have to see what happens over the next couple of months. But overall, it sounded like things were much better than the previous supplier.
Joseph.
I don't know how up to date our data is, but since the beginning of the year, I've noticed an extreme increase in people buying lunches.
Yeah.
I think you guys are just doing a great job across the board.
So, I got a couple questions. First, how was the transition? I know that, we had Chartwell's here for 4 years, and obviously, people who worked for Chartwell's obviously were offered positions with Whitson's, and so what can you say? I mean, how has the staff reacted to the
Most of the
Whitson's
staff
model?
has reacted well to it. It's a culture change, and we're asking them to do more in the same amount of time that they had, because it's feasible, and hopefully they will all understand what it is that we're doing. At the end of the day, we're trying to feed the kids.
Right.
So to get into the backbiting of, well, I didn't have to do this before, and, well, this is what we were doing, and there was a reason that we're here now. It wasn't working before, and our hope is that working together, we can make it better for everybody.
Sure.
So I think that that's been a positive change too, for the most part.
Great. And my only other question, I guess, is, kind of piggybacking off of what Kim was saying. When parents have these questions or these concerns, what's the best way to get them across? Is it at a PTO meeting, or is it to call you, or is it to come to a school committee meeting?
Call me, school committee meeting, or an email.
Okay.
My email is right on the district website.
Sure. And have you been finding that people have been,
Yes.
Okay.
And I do my best to respond as quickly as possible.
Sure. And are you at all, do you have any opportunity, throughout the month to get to a PTO meeting and talk to some elementary parents?
If I know ahead of time, I don't want to say well enough ahead of time, but
Sure.
if I know ahead of time, then I will do my best to make it work.
Okay.
I did attend one at Blueberry, and I haven't been able to attend any other ones yet, but
Okay.
I will if I know about them.
Sure. Obviously we can pass your contact info along to the presidents and, see if they have any interest in having you. So
And
hopefully they can schedule with you.
Anything that we can do that is, more minds working on a problem, get it done a lot quicker.
Sure.
I know that there's, between those options and kids changing their minds about what they want to eat, we're looking for the best answer to it. And in lieu of just saying, well, you get one meal and that's what you get, we like choices, and we like the kids to realize that they can have a choice, and to speak to what you were saying, to realize that it can be fun. You can adjust what you're doing, and it's still lunch, so we're open.
Great. Any other questions? Tom?
Just a quick comment. Marie and I are working with them on a survey,
Okay.
a secondary level survey and an elementary level survey. We hope to have those up this week for stakeholder and customer input
Great.
on what they like, what they don't like, maybe things that they would like to see, and maybe reasons why they don't participate, and possibly try to incorporate those to attract more customers besides Joe to come and buy meals. So
Great.
we'll have them on the website hopefully by the end of the week.
Okay, perfect. What was I going to say? Food service advisory. We do have a committee that we've formed. They just have never met. So, as soon as we get them together, I assume that's stuff you'll be going to as well.
Sure, I'd be very interested in that.
I think that's, we have to do it by law, right? Yeah. So, we have a couple members. Janet's on it. Liz is on it. I think I'm on it. I don't know. Is Kim on it? Who knows? All right. And some really active parents who are on the selection committee. So, it should be good. So, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'd be very interested in that.
Okay, great. Thank you for your time.
Very well.
We're happy you're with us.
I'm happy I'm here too.
Good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have got our facilities director with us. And then after that, we have our select board chair, who I've been holding up, and it's not on purpose, I promise. So Adrian is with us tonight to talk about the proposed capital priority list that I know Jim worked on. And so I guess, we can start by just having you kind of go over the process and go over what's on the list, and Jim can talk about the input that he's had and his recommendations to this committee as well.
Well, every summer, I send emails out to all the principals, asking for requests for capital projects for their buildings. And some send in a lot, some send in a few, and there's been one or two that don't send in any. And that's okay, because, some of the buildings are fairly new. And then I sort of prioritize what I think is, as a facility director, needs to be done, and then Tom and Jim had their choices as well. We sat last week and discussed this along with Marie, and came up with 6 items that the committee feels is going to be their priority list.
Yeah, so maybe I can just add a couple. Rationale behind the list as you look at it. I think the list that went out is a TBD, but that TBD should be, what, 95?
I think we have a price of 93.5 for the track.
Okay.
Like,
So
is that what the new price was?
So TBD will be 93.5. But the premise was, as we looked through this thing, was really to attack anything that was safety concern at all first. Then major impact on our service if an event happens. So I'll go through a couple of those examples as we went down through, and then after that, any major facilitation issues. So safety, right, and then major impact, and then this list is only broken down into 6 items from a priority basis, 1 through 6, and everything else is just listed alphabetically by school. It has nothing to do with priority whatsoever. We sat there and decided how to do it. So when you look at it that way, the track resurfacing, because the track, when you look at it, we actually don't have people running on a track for meets because it's not functional for meets, and it's got kind of gravelly versus it's firm rubber and stuff. We felt not only it was problematic because a school that we've now got a brand new school we can't go and actually go use for a track meet was somewhat problematic, embarrassing, along with the fact that if a town resident used it and hurt themselves, that would be, I wouldn't say worse, but not good, because it would be as bad if a student used it and hurt themselves, right? I mean, but certainly it wouldn't be good. From a boiler perspective, the boilers in Williams are many, many, many years old, and if you have one that fails, it takes weeks to replace. So it's not like your home boiler where a boiler fails and you call up, Boilers R Us, and you get one the next day. It's something that takes a long time. So we said, hey, we've got to go and replace those before you have that kind of failure. And then we have a similar boiler in Glenbrook. The 4th item on the list was the installation of tile to replace carpet, and we put that on capital versus maintenance issue because when you replace it with tile lasts for a long time, right? So you get rid of this carpet and you get something that lasts for a long time. And then the fan systems, the exhaust fan systems on Williams, they're air handlers and stuff like that that really need to move the air around. If you have those fail again, it takes a long time to replace, so we ought to go get it fixed, because the other one is way old, 50 years old. Now, the fire alarm system in Center we talked a lot about. This is a replacement of the system. Right now, Adrian and team go around and replace little nozzles or whatever you replace, sensors, right?
We replace the devices
right.
as they go bad.
So individually replacing devices may or may not be a really ongoing good process, right? It's an old system. The cost is high though, because once you start replacing a system, then you have to bring everything up to code for it, and it becomes you have alarms that talk to you and alarms that sense different things, and so there's a lot of issues with alarms. So the current system is safe. So if anybody's listening, I don't want to imply that this current system is not safe. It is safe. It's handled by maintenance ongoing, but we thought that it would be useful and a good process to go and take care of that if possible. So that's how the priorities went from 1 to 6. Started out with a safety issue on track, worked its way down through major impacts on maintenance, and then said, hey, at the end of the day, with the fire alarm, even though it's being maintained piecemeal, we should consider doing something real with it. And then after that was everything else, because we said, let's take on the big things first.
Right. Katie, sorry.
So,
Kim.
okay, you said that safety came first, but, and I understand the track is not ideal, you could get people kind of tripping up, but fire alarms and boilers where there wouldn't be heat, seems like.
Well, fire alarm, safety, to me and to others, I think, are, fire alarm, again, I gotta re-stress this. The fire alarm system today is in fact safe, and it's tested and looked at by the fire department all the time. But it's being maintained piecemeal. Every time something goes
So
out,
it's
we have to go
costing.
in. You're right, so you just kind of redo this constantly over time. So it's something we should go look at. So that's why it's not a safety issue per se like now, because the system is in fact safe. The boilers are safe. It's not, if a boiler went down, if you really had to, it doesn't cause people safety issues, you'd have to cancel school, right? I mean,
Well, that's it.
So it's a major impact, right? So that's what I'm saying, it's not a safety issue, but it's a significant operational impact, and that's why boilers were first ahead of the fire alarm, because you can have replacement modules you can go and replace and keep it going. That's the thought process.
Katie, we had a long conversation with Adrian about the fire alarm, and do you remember the day the alarm went off 3 times?
My
So
kids do.
Adrian came over and with Todd, and they replaced the sensors in the B building. And since the sensors in B building were replaced, it has not gone off at all. So Adrian feels like we caught that problem, but Adrian's committed to replacing all the sensors in the entire building. So we're confident at this point, based on our conversation, that we are in good shape with the fire alarm.
Okay. Is there not like a, grant money, either federal or state money, that we could use or seek out for either fire alarm or like energy conservation with boilers and exhaust fans to help offset some of these? So, I mean, I just think, like in my own home, I get, look, there's tons of federal money for if we replace your heating system or your windows or this.
I don't know.
What about, is there
We
any
are
green
presently
commu-
working with a company that's going to possibly give us like $125,000 worth of grants. One of the problems that we run into in the district is we sort of fall out of the grant groove because we have a dual fuel system. We can burn either oil or gas. There's no money, nobody's going to give us any money from the oil industry. That's not going to happen. Had we gone with just gas, there may be some incentives from the gas company.
So
There
could
used
we
to be,
make
I don't know
that
if there
switch,
still
though,
are.
in order to,
Problem lies in, we have underground tanks. The gas company will only give us an incentive or work with us at all if those tanks are sealed off completely, so we can never use oil again.
why
We
wouldn't
haven't
do that,
bought
though?
oil in
We wouldn't want to.
a couple of years now.
4 or 5
4 or 5 years.
I
So
mean, if
that's
we're not
something
using it,
that's
wouldn't
out
it-
of the realm of, something we can do.
Wouldn't that be better to seal them off and know that they're sort of done, and then we can focus on cleaner energy and,
Well, I know this sounds like a stupid thing I'm going to say, but if oil, for instance, is cheaper than gas at some point,
Correct.
that's why I know it sounds stupid, because it
Yes.
probably won't ever be.
you
But,
want the option?
You want the
I
option to
wouldn't
be
say
able
that.
to,
It might be one day.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's why it's a dual
and that's why
system
it's,
right
I mean,
now.
that's the good thing about it, is we could be saving money by burning oil instead of gas, should that price point ever change.
I'm just wondering, though, would it make up the difference between, sort of taking advantage of grant money that would have clean,
Right.
like more efficient systems in our school? If, I mean,
Do you, I mean, and maybe you don't know this, is there any green communities money that may become available?
I'm not aware of any.
John?
And actually, oil, efficiency-wise, oil is probably better than gas. It's hotter than gas when it burns. It's not as clean, and it's, obviously, gas is cheaper at this point, but
so it burns hotter, but dirtier, but it's more expensive. So I guess we could run around in the circle, but is there a point where we would make a decision to switch so that we could do these projects that,
that's the business department's.
So what we have to do is get these things onto I think the purpose of this list right now is to get these into the overall capital list for the town. So then we can get prioritized into the town and start looking at capital money in the town.
but what I'm afraid of happening is that the capital list will sort of pile up quickly with other, as things come. But if we are proactive, searching for grants or, taking these steps to make a decision between oil and gas, so then we're not going to be taking capital money from other projects when we have,
Well,
or
that's
when we
fair.
could have access to other funds.
I would suggest then that what we could do is vote on this list, and we can we could certainly help and look for, while this is on the list, look for alternatives to, for.
No,
funding,
I'm not
right?
in any way
Yeah.
saying take it off
Right,
the list. I'm
right.
just saying, it's,
Yeah. no, I
instead of
understand.
just throwing our hands up and saying, there's
Yeah.
not enough capital, why don't we
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point.
John?
Yes, Adrian, I have a question
Very
about
good. It's a really-
track resurfacing. How long have we had this, it's like a synthetic
It's rubber, yeah.
rubber?
Mhm.
How long have we had that on the track?
15 years.
And this is the original?
That's the original,
Before that, we had cinders, right?
correct.
Is there some reason why we can't go back to cinders, which I think would be a lot cheaper?
I don't know that it would be cheaper now. You'd have to tear up everything that was there. There's an asphalt base under that rubber track. That would all have to come out, and then you'd have to dig it down. You'd have to bring in, hundreds of tons of cinders. And then there's a maintenance issue. The old days, we used to have a guide that we dragged around the track to put the lines in it, and then we limed them. Now the track is all painted. It's there forever. And it's faster. The students are faster on this track, on the rubber track. Their times got better.
Is one better on their knees?
Pardon me?
Is one material better on their knees?
It's a lot better, the rubber.
Yeah, the rubber is.
Yeah.
Rubber is much better.
Well, I'm just thinking, this is New England, so we have, rather cold temperatures in the winter and then very hot in the summer.
Well, the life
Is the
expectancy of the
material-
track was
Go ahead.
probably about 10 years anyway. So we've exceeded that by almost 5 years.
So is there a ballpark figure for how much this might be?
It's about $93,500 was our latest
Okay,
figure.
thank you.
Kim?
Does that include the things we got that email about today, the long jump pits?
No, that would be just the track.
Okay.
How long would the track be closed for? Is what we want to know.
Well, the big job that would have to be done during the summertime, I'm going to guess it would take a couple of weeks for them to strip what's on there, prep the surface. I remember when they put it in, they actually took probably 5 days to do the actual application of the rubber. They come in, it comes in 2 stages. They spray a coarse product down first, and then they come back later and fill it in with a finer product. And then they let it cure for a day or two, and then somebody comes in and lines it.
Thank you. So we, just so you know, we received an email that will be part of our correspondence in the next meeting from a parent who had some concern about our ability to be competitive this year, which is why Kim's asking about the long jump and why she's asking about, high jump and pole vaulting and all of that. Does this committee believe that we should, should we include that as part of the capital project?
If you do, funding is usually not available till July 1.
Right.
So,
Well, and that's,
unfortunately, it wouldn't address this parent's concerns for this coming spring's.
right. No, and
competitions.
I understand that part of it. I guess, but it's going to be an issue regardless.
I
So,
think, Michael, the question is how long, if we fix like the long jump pits and stuff like that, how long are they good for? From a capital basis, are they good for a number of years? 5, 6 years? Are they good for like a year? I have no idea. But we ought to bring it back. We can look at it in the FinSub one more time.
right.
And add it if we want to, or bring this number up instead of just saying that, replace the track, maybe improve the athletic field, whatever you want to call it. But
Right.
it's worthwhile. Certainly from the perspective of with a state-of-the-art school, you want a facility that you don't walk out the door and then you're
It's-
back 20 years or something, right?
Right.
Or I guess 15 years, right? You want something that serves the students.
So, well, sorry.
What are our track and field teams using now?
Want somewhere else.
We go
Last year
somewhere-
they began going somewhere else.
They don't use it for meets.
So where do they practice? Do they have to drive somewhere to practice?
I believe they've been practicing there, but other teams won't come here,
Yeah, you can.
which is an issue.
It's kind of ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
It's been repaired several times so that
But
it was doable for a while, but big chunks are coming up.
So I think, Michael, my recommendation would be to get the capital list as it currently stands approved, and we can amend it next time if we
Right.
want to add something to it to bring it, but instead of delaying this action, it gets something out in front of the capital committee for the town and
Right.
gets us able to talk about
I agree with that.
prioritization.
All right, well, I agree with that. And I guess my question for you is, is there anything temporary we can do in that particular area for this upcoming track season to make it usable?
In the track itself?
No, about the runs for the long jump, the paths.
I don't know, I'm not really even aware that there was a problem with it.
Okay. We can talk offline. All right, so does everybody feel comfortable with, let's put a motion on the floor and we'll discuss it some more.
I move that we approve the capital list as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. I just want to say one thing, that last year, the track was our number 3 priority. And it really was kind of number 2 because we lumped the 2 center school projects together. And, you know, last year we expressed our disappointment that the Community Preservation Commission decided that because there were rumors that somebody somewhere might fund an artificial turf, this project wasn't worth doing. You know, now we're at a stage where the track is relatively unsafe. And that type of decision put members of the community at risk, put members of our student body at risk, and it was not a good decision to make. This year, I plan on speaking directly with Community Preservation, and I hope that, you know, to express what this committee voted on so that they know that this is our number 1 priority, and that regardless of what speculation there is in the community, we've never seen a proposal, we've never heard from anybody about anything relating to an artificial turf. And that if members of the community would like to fund that, they need to bring a proposal forward to this committee. We've never seen one. And that's an issue. So hopefully this year, this project will not succumb to speculation about what may happen or may not happen, but we can have it supported at town meeting on the merit of the fact that this is something the entire community uses, that, you know, our championship track teams use, and that it's a really important project. And you're going to put it through community preservation, right?
Yeah, I believe that's what we're going to do.
Okay. So,
Either or, we would probably put it through both of them.
okay.
Yeah, we're going to start there.
See what sticks.
So to your point, we need to really, we talked about that.
Yeah.
We really need to stop committees and forums from acting on rumor.
Right.
It doesn't work well.
They want the facts. I mean, we're right here. We can tell you what's going on. I mean, you know, John.
Now, as a point of information, in your judgment, is the current football field adequate to the kind of stresses we're putting on it? Or is it going to need work?
It's going to need work. It's going to need work every year, after every season. Not only do you play football on it, you play soccer on it, you know, they play lacrosse on it, so it really doesn't have a lot of time to rest. It's a constant battle to keep grass on it.
Okay. And is that why some people are advocating, and I'm not one of these people, they're advocating artificial turf?
I would assume that's why they're doing it, yeah.
And any idea ballpark? No pun intended.
I don't have a clue.
What would it cost?
I don't have a clue. I really don't, John. I wish I did.
It's up there. I mean, for the staging of it, it's a lot of money.
There's a lot of work involved.
So, all right. So we have a motion on the table. All those in favor? Motion carries. Any opposed? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian.
Sorry for keeping you.
That's okay.
And you too, Marie. All right, so Marie is here tonight. She asked if she could come speak at the beginning of the meeting.
You wanted me to hear capital.
I did want her to hear capital. I thought it'd be important for her to hear. But Marie is here tonight to ask for our support in supporting a letter to our legislators regarding a change to the way OPEB is funded. And this is going before the House and the Senate. It's been negotiated by the state with the unions. And so I'll let you continue to speak to it now.
As we talked in the joint meeting, some of the things that are really pressing against the budget is OPEB, or retiree health care benefits and pensions. And this involves mainly the health care benefits. And they put together a commission, it was called the OPEB Commission, and they were trying to decide how they were going to help all the towns, because we're all in the same situation. And they came out with this recommendation. It's become a bill. There's going to be a public hearing coming up. And after I heard someone speak at a conference over the weekend, I thought this is something that we should really, as a whole town, come together, and I'm asking for your support. I know the Finance Committee is definitely supporting it. We're going to be talking about it at a special Select Board meeting on Wednesday. And this is what the bill does. We have a lot of unfunded liability in that we are paying as we go, which is fine right now as a town, but there will reach a point where there will be more retirees than we will have active employees. And this is the way the trajectory is going. All the towns are facing that. Some towns already, they said this past weekend, there were 900 retirees to only 500. Fortunately, we're not in that position, but I think as a town, we have to start preparing ourselves and handling this problem while we can. And what this bill suggests is Governor Patrick is supporting it, and it changes the formulation on when retirees can get the maximum available benefit. So it switches out the years, it extends the amount of years you have to be working before you can get the maximum available benefit, and that helps bring down what our costs will be, because, as you all know, when they started Social Security and everything else, the age people were living to was much lower than it is now, so this is a problem that's occurring across the country as well as here in Longmeadow. The disadvantage of the bill is that you cannot change the contribution that retirees have once they retire, and that's fine for Longmeadow. We're at 50, it stayed at 50, no one's looking to negotiate differently. Other towns, they're at 90, and they're looking to possibly try to negotiate. The disadvantage of the bill to Longmeadow is it requires spousal retiree health care benefits, which we don't offer as a town, which means that if you're retired, your spouse gets retiree health care if you pass. We don't offer that now. This would require and make it mandatory. I asked the town manager, what are the numbers? Is this a good bill to come and go behind? And Paul Pasterchik said definitely, because it's changing, it's just moving that line a little bit down, right, and that will be really important as the years go on. So I'm asking the school committee to consider a joint letter to go for the public hearing, and unfortunately the public hearing is October 31st. And if
Thursday.
you don't feel you could come up to October 31st, then later, but we want to be able to respond in the most powerful way we can, which is a letter by the time of the public hearing. I did send paperwork to everyone. I know it's a very complicated issue, but I think it's something that, as a town, we all have to face together, because this is what's going to make a difference in the next 10 to 20 years on where we are on the whole budget for the town.
So if I can summarize very quickly.
Yes.
Reader's Digest version of it.
Okay.
Currently, employees are eligible for retiree health care benefits after 15 years of employment.
Yeah.
This would extend it to 20 years.
Yes.
It would not change the level of contribution. We'd have to stay where we are, but we're currently paying the minimum, which is 50%.
May I step back once and correct you?
Sure.
It's not that they can't get benefits, that maximum available benefits.
Maximum benefits,
Yeah,
okay.
so it's almost like in private industry vesting it.
Sure.
Mhm.
And this would create survivor benefits.
Yes.
For spouses.
Yes.
Okay. And Paul Pasterchik believes this is a good move.
Yes.
For the state to adopt.
Yes. And the Massachusetts Municipal Association is behind it, and as I said, the OPEB Commission had the unions, everyone else there deciding how they were going to best solve the solution.
And for the community, the OPEB benefit is the other post-employment benefits, which are health insurance costs and
Mhm.
other associated costs for retirees.
Yes.
And it's currently an unfunded liability that the town is funding a little bit.
Well, what we do is we pay for the current retirees, and we pay as we go, which is fine, and it's working. And the Select Board has put together a line item in the budget, so we're starting to build a trust, because we know there will come a time in which there will be more retirees than active.
Okay. Jim. And then Liz.
Thanks for the paperwork, because I went through it all.
Okay, and you might then be more knowledgeable than I am at this time.
The thing I didn't see is, I mean, the changes make some sense. Actually, they are not quite like private industry yet, but at least moving toward it, which in my personal opinion, maybe not many others, it makes some sense. But before I support it, because I actually support a change, but what it didn't have in here, at least unless I missed it somewhere, is Paul's assessment of really the impact. You know, if you fast forward 10, 15, 20 years, what does that really mean to the town as far as either savings or reduced exposure to liability, whichever way you want to phrase it? And does it do enough for the town? That's what I'm kind of wondering.
Well, it's just a beginning, and I think even the commission was saying they wanted to be able to do more, but at least we're doing something, and so this is like taking one step. And I have a feeling they wanted it to be a stronger bill going forward, but this is just one step in the direction where we need to be. The actual numbers, Paul didn't give me actual numbers, and I think part of that is that's what we spend all that money on every few years, is assessing our OPEB liability, and even then we were getting multiple numbers given to us by the commission, and we were very confused. So I can't tell you it's going to save $5 million or $10 million. We don't even have the amount of money we have saved this year by decreasing our retiree health plans by 30%. They weren't able to give us an exact number in that, so I wouldn't be able to give you even a ballpark figure.
Then if I phrase your perspective a little differently, then, correct me if I got it wrong, is that this is a good bill to support because it is at least in the right general direction. However, I don't know the numbers, but it's at least in the right general direction. That's what I'm, would that be fair? Is
Yes.
that fair? All right. Thanks.
John. Oh, Liz, sorry. Forgot about you.
I'm not sure if you know, I was just looking at the summary. So for us, what's the minimum age of retirement that we currently have?
I'm not sure where it is right now for us. Because a lot of it depends on the contracts. I think that, you know, some of our unions, it's different than others. Like the school department's going to be different from the police and things like that. It's how many years. There's a formula out there. So when it comes to the teachers, my understanding, this bill doesn't really affect the teachers except for a very small amount in a certain plan. I'm not sure if they were, I didn't quite understand that part. It was like a B plan or something.
If you have enough quarters in Social Security, you move to Social Security at 62. If you don't have quarters because you didn't work outside the teaching profession, then you stay on the town.
Okay. And then for us, you said we have a minimum years of service is 15 now, and it's going to go up to 20.
That
That's
would
a
be for the
major
state,
change.
yeah.
Right. And then, but the bad part is that not bad, but money-wise, we'd have to pay for spouses. So is the benefit of increasing the minimum years of service is really going to outweigh the survival or the spousal benefits?
That was my question,
I
too.
can't see how that's, because we're going to be adding, let's say, how many people do we have in our OPED now?
Right now, we do offer spousal. The issue is when the employee passes, will we still offer it to the surviving spouse? And that is that small amount. And the numbers that Paul gave me is, he told the town manager, who told me, yes, it's definitely worth it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And right now, we offer a supplemental to Medicare. So even though people at 65 are accessing Medicare, the town still offers a retiree health care benefits and supplemental insurance.
Okay.
John?
What about the impact on collective bargaining? Is this a way of undercutting collective
I think we're
bargaining
gonna go with
agreements
consensus.
or
Well, my understanding
restructuring the
is the unions were at the table, and they agreed that we have to do something. And when it's an issue of, I think, actual union contracts that were still there, I'm not sure if it's reopening any contracts. I sort of doubt that.
My assumption would be that state law,
Mhm.
precedes contract.
Well, if I could, someone mentioned to me that well, for example, teachers have to, I believe, have at least 30 years before they can retire. But there are some state employees, and maybe municipal employees, who can retire at a greatly reduced rate, but it's still a retirement, with just 10 years. Is that the case?
Well, that's not in Long Meadow, but I know other parts of the state that is an issue, and that's why they've pushed it up to 15. I think that was, the governor did that last year, and now he's pushing it up to 20. But again, this isn't anyone who's currently retired. This deals with future retirees.
10 years of service strikes me as being, inadequate. I mean, you're not even paying, well, I guess they don't get that much, but at least they have a pension.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
This is-
all right.
Yeah, these are others. The only thing that I coming here is saying for the town of Long Meadow, just this type of move in the right direction. It's not a severe change, but it is a step in the right direction to help us it's one tool in the box to help us take care of the OPED situation coming up. Again, we're not talking this year, we're probably projecting out in 10 or 15 years, it can make a difference. And what our concerns are is that if we don't have some sort of program in place, that will affect maybe our ability to borrow money in 20 years. And they're going to start looking at this a little more carefully.
Your largest employed group in Long Meadow are the teachers, correct?
Yes, but
Largest.
again, I think that what my understanding was on the commission, that a lot of the teachers, I'm not sure, I think they have other options and
Well,
other.
Yeah, well, correct me if I'm wrong, because it may have changed since I was there, but you pay in a percentage. I think the current pay-in rate per check is 15%, and that's matched by the town. But that money's sent off to the state, to the teacher's retirement fund. So there's no more, once the person retires, say from Long Meadow, there's no more payment by Long Meadow for that person.
I think we're talking about pensions, and this is only the healthcare.
This is only healthcare?
Mhm.
Okay.
These
Yeah.
teachers do pay into mass pension, or mass teachers' pension. So,
And that will be something we'll probably try to look at another point in time, but again, that's, teacher's pension is not something that we really have on our books that we have to
Okay,
worry
all right.
about.
so at this point, I don't know if we need to take a vote. I think consensus would probably be fine.
You could spend your time thinking about it and get back to me. As I said, I'm going to be presenting this to the full select board on Wednesday.
Okay.
And hopefully we will make our decision and get the letter out
Sure.
Thursday morning, the latest, and just let me know what you've decided to do.
All right, I mean, does anybody, Janet?
Is this, have you talked about this with the select board at all?
I have, well, 2 members of the select board, but I'm going to make a formal presentation on Wednesday. I'm sort of jumping with you guys because you're tonight, and
Okay.
I wouldn't have much
So
time.
just, we don't know what your decision's going to be?
Exactly, yeah. So Wednesday night we'll know, and I'll be sure to let Michael know.
Okay.
So I guess the question is, I mean, obviously, having Paul Pasterzik feel that this is a good move, and the town manager feeling like this is a good move, do we feel that this is something we could get behind, if it, and would you, John?
I was just wondering if Tom had any thoughts.
Tom's got a lot of thoughts.
Well, on this particular topic.
I really, John, I can't say that I'm versed enough on it to really weigh in on it. I get what they're trying to accomplish by putting in minimums, similar to what happens with pensions, that you have to have so many years in age before you qualify for even a minimal level. I think this is trying to increase that minimum level a little bit to protect communities from having such high benefit costs down the road. I mean, on face value, I would think that probably is in the best interest of the communities in the long term to prevent what happened in Detroit from happening in communities here in Massachusetts.
Second time tonight Detroit came up.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess, I think we could be probably fine with consensus. I mean, is our consensus that this is something we want to support with the select board? And would you, I guess, authorize, are we consenting to the fact that I will sign on our behalf, I guess?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I'll watch your meeting.
Do we need a vote if he's
Do we-
sending
okay.
something?
on their behalf?
It's a formal letter,
Yeah.
then yes, I
All right.
think you should be on record as authorizing him to sign on behalf of the board.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor? All right, so I'll watch what you guys do Wednesday, and
We'll work together on the letter, too.
Okay,
So you
great.
can see it. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
okay. Sorry for keeping you so long. I know you like watching our meetings. It's fine. All right. At this point, we're gonna get back on track, and I'm gonna hand it over to Marie for her report.
Okay. Janet and I hosted the kindergarten forum last week. We had about 30 parents come to hear about what the goals of the kindergarten committee were and to also to give their input into things that we should think about as we form opinions. One thing they did want to know is if the committee had a bias, and we said probably it did lean toward full day, but I think members of the committee understand that we really have to look at a lot of factors like budget, classroom space, and other issues, so we'll be reporting on that. Janet took notes from the meeting, and the website is listed as a Google Doc if you'd like to see the minutes from the meeting. I listed some of the key topics for you: Common Core expectations, student mastery of the curriculum, differences in first grade between full-day and half-day kindergartners. So it was a great meeting, and thank you to the 5 school committee members who came. I think the parents were very impressed with that. Technology Fair. I have great news. We're going to have a technology fair. It's going to be on May 22nd, 2014, so mark your calendars. Students and staff from all over the district are going to provide live demonstrations on how technology is now embedded in the curriculum. So it's going to be a great, great demonstration. Congratulations to the golf team, the new Western Massachusetts champions. And I hope Joseph has reports on other teams because I'm lagging there. The walkabouts and the walkthroughs continue. We've been working on the middle school, so Chris Collins, Dan Sullivan, Kelly, Ganji, Sue Bertrand, and I have been walking through the various classrooms. Again, the goal of the walkthroughs is so that we can take a look at instruction and that we can agree on what good instruction looks like. So we talk about the Common Core, we talk about instructional practices, and we talk about just routines that make for good teaching. We gather afterwards, we debrief on what we've seen, and I think it's making us better educators. Communication, we continue to reach out to local reporters. Hopefully you've noticed in the newspaper that there have been, I think there's been an article every single week. Last week, Chris Mazza came in, and Chris and I walked up to the World Language Lab where they were hosting educators from all over the state. They came in to see what the lab was like, and they actually went through training on it. So I know that Hope is coming in, Hope Tremblay is coming in tomorrow, the next day, so that she can see the language lab as well. Okay. The chamber concert was fantastic. It was performed in Seminar A, which is brand new, to actually have it out in one of the open spaces. I think the new venue was enticing for everyone, and the music is always fantastic. We're lucky to have such talented teachers, and Kayla Werlin is just the best. Park. Kelly attended a park conference to learn more about the upcoming tests. Some of the details have yet to be worked out, and a full presentation will be done once all the facets of implementation are determined. They are really looking at what they're doing, and there will be some changes to what we've told you already. Finally, the building committee met last week. The number on the punch list, the number of punch list items has been substantially reduced, but it's something we're still going to keep our eye on. The MDF room, that's the computer head-end room where the equipment melted, is still an issue. They wanted to come to resolution at the building committee meeting, but Jim wasn't there, so I asked that they hold off a decision until Jim and Kevin can be there and be present to make sure that we're getting the right solution to the problem. And that's it.
I talked to Tom, I haven't heard back from him at all, so we had a...
Yeah, because they wanted to put in a system that was 3.5 tons, and when I spoke to the engineer, he talked in engineer language, purposely probably to make me feel stupid, it worked. But I basically said we need Jim and Kevin here. We can't make this decision without the two of you present, so.
Well, if you have talked to Kevin or Tom, I'm pretty free.
Okay, I will arrange that. Thank
Any-
you.
Any questions for Marie? Okay. Thank you, Marie.
You're welcome.
For my update, I really don't have an update. Obviously, I just want to remind everybody that town meeting is on Tuesday the 5th. And we have one warrant article that is specific to us, which is the article that establishes the account for the Tree of Courage. Leafs are on sale, so let's all, show up and support that. It's hopefully, didn't get a recommendation from the Finance Committee. Didn't get a not recommendation either. There's no comment on the warrant about what the Finance Committee's thought was on it. So maybe they felt like they didn't need to do anything, or maybe they are planning on saying something, but I haven't heard otherwise. It's a little strange. Other than that, Marie and I have just been preparing for our presentations at the Mass Association of School Committees, Mass Association of School Superintendents Conference, the joint conference that we're going to next Wednesday. I will be kind of emceeing John DeLoria, who is a author, wrote a book on conflict resolution in schools. And then I'll be joining a panel with Marie and two other superintendents to talk about difficult conversations. It's one of my favorite topics. So it'll be good. It'll be really exciting. And we've got a lot of good opportunities to speak with other members from other committees and see what they're doing. The one thing I'll say about MASC, though, was last year when we went, there's some very interesting topics that they go over. I know John went to one on Finland last year that everybody was talking about. And then there's some ones that I go to that I sit through, and I went to a lot of ones on budget last year. And everything they talked about, I said, Tom's already doing that. We're already doing that. So it kind of feels good to go and realize that we're doing a lot of this stuff and that a lot of other districts are not near where we are. So good to put it in perspective every once in a while. Other than that, I don't really have a whole lot else. If anybody's interested, there's a video of me talking to a second grade class on Center School's blog. I have the link, I'll send it out. So that's pretty much it. Joseph.
Thank you. First, I'd like to congratulate the boys soccer team and the volleyball team for they beat East Longmeadow in their two most recent games. The class of 2015 is currently holding an apparel sale, and we've designed some really nice lanyards and car decals that are LHS and Longmeadow branded, not specific to our class. And we'd be happy if there are any town residents that'd like to purchase them. If you could just, if you want more information, just call the school and they will give you the correct contact info. On the AP economics class that I've been working on, right now I've given some time for the business department to decide amongst themselves which teacher could make their schedules available to go to the over the summer course to teach that course. So hopefully we'll have a decision on that soon. In the media center, we're currently working on increasing security on the laptops. So that's something that we hope to work on because they're a major investment in the school. So that's good. I hope to set up a meeting with IT next week to talk about paperless report cards like we talked about at the meeting last time. I recently took a trip to Williams to see one of my old teachers who had recently moved there. And I was very, very impressed with the security that was in place at Williams. To get in, you have to say your name. They have you have to sign in. There's a visitor's badge with some initialing where you're going. They wanted to make sure they knew if I had an appointment, which teacher I was going to see. The principal was standing at the door, making sure no one was bringing in any liquids. So very secure. I was very impressed. But one thing that I did notice is it did seem very overcrowded. The teacher that I spoke to did say that she noticed a very big impact from the population size versus Glenbrook, where she came from.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Maybe if that's something we could look into.
It's our favorite topic.
And that is everything that I. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. moving right along. Is there anything new with SBC beyond what Marie reported? No. Okay.
We have a nice sign out in front of our
It's nice.
Bliss Road entrance.
It's really nice.
Yeah, a couple of those signs.
That's new.
Are they gonna put one like that in the front? Long
I
Meadow?
thought there was only one. Somebody,
No, there's one going
There
in
is?
right now. Right now. It's going in
Okay.
today.
So yes.
For the entrance to Long
Yeah.
Meadow High School?
As we speak?
Yeah, I sat out there and
Good.
watched it go in today.
Today they were.
They were going in. I was watching them put it in today.
And I believe, and I heard a rumor that Larry Birdie was looking to some classes to donate lights to illuminate those signs. So, more to come on that. All right. Yeah, those signs are really nice. So that's a really nice design feature. Now we can tell people when they're coming down Bliss Road to when they're coming here, we can say, look for the sign that says Long Meadow Public Schools. Come right in. Legislative?
They're not in session, so there's nothing to report.
Green.
Are we gonna do financial report?
Did I skip it?
Yeah, you did, but I'll take care of it.
Okay. We'll just go through reports and I'll come back.
Hit operations.
Whatever.
Take care of it.
I've skipped it. Oops. Green. Sorry.
Just two things. Last week, we distributed an anti-idling letter to principals and to PTOs, and just because when kids are getting picked up from school, the parents or whoever idle their cars outside, and to keep it warm, to keep it cold, and it's actually very bad for children. 1 in 13 Americans have asthma, and 10% kids in Massachusetts have asthma, and they've made direct links to asthma from idling. So please turn off your cars. And hope you read that email. And also another email went out last week about there's a drug take-back event at the police station on Saturday, and Superintendent Doyle sent out an email urging parents to dispose of their medications properly so they don't get in the hands of children.
Can I ask a quick question? I know outside of Center, like where the car line comes up, there's signs that say, don't idle, there's ticketing, it's, pretty decent fine. Are those enforced? Do we hand out tickets for?
The police don't really have the time, I guess you would say, to enforce it. But we had talked about
Increasing the.
I might meet the police chief at some point to ask them if they could maybe assist us with that. So we'll see what happens.
I've just noticed the line of cars.
I know.
It's.
I know.
We actually had the conversation in our school today. As I was walking by the schools, the cars, I made a comment about how many of the cars at the front of the line, so you knew they had been there for 20 minutes or so, were on.
Mm-hmm.
And the parents that I had mentioned it to one, and like 7 parents chimed in, I know, I don't understand, isn't there a link to child asthma? And they all knew the facts. I was completely amazed. The people that had walked.
Right. Well, you just need to tell them. I do.
That's a real problem. I've seen it over at Wolf Swamp. Maybe we ought to hand out leaflets or something, or have someone just walk the line and hand people a leaflet. Just say, we don't have enough police, and I don't think they're gonna send us a police officer, but maybe just to remind them, maybe the Green Committee, that includes me, we should come up with something to hand out.
Yeah.
Then it's a question of who's gonna hand it out. Maybe some of the students, student patrol leaders or whatever, could just to remind people.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about it at our next meeting. We can figure out
Okay.
a way to do it.
That's it?
Yep.
All right. Any questions for Liz? Okay. Operations.
I guess do this in finance, because the operations activity is somewhat delayed, per agreement with the select board, right, to put that off as far as any activity as far as field maintenance and that type of stuff until early next year. So we'll wait then. If I move into the finances, it'll be fairly quick. We covered food service already. We did cover in the FinSub meeting building use request. We agreed to allow Wolf Swamp Road School to be used for the 2nd annual turkey trot, and then the Long Meadow Youth Basketball Association to be able to use the Glenbrook Middle School high school gym. And so that's okay. Went through the dedication expenses and we are going to allocate those to school choice. Right now, they're a little bit over $13,000. Tom's doing a final accrual before we finalize those numbers, and we're okay. And we went through the review. The town finance committee is handing around and wanting us to participate in the town and school accounting process, which I keep forgetting the acronym.
I think it's GFOA.
There's a school
Which
department
is
called
something.
The ASBO?
ASBO.
the American Association.
But we're meeting with Pete Landon on next FinSub meeting, go through that, and then bring it here. And my view has been, and after reading through it, is that we basically do everything in that ASBO tool except for projecting expenses over 4 or 5 years. And we could even do that, except we have to figure out amongst ourselves in the Finance Committee and Select Board, how do you project out union negotiations, right? I mean, so you could flatline them and assume zeros, which is not the right thing to do. You could put in 4 or 5%, which is not the right thing to do. So how do you actually want to deal with union negotiations? As far as projecting, utilities and other expenses, it's not that difficult. So we have to have that conversation with Peter, which we'll do on the next finance sub-meeting, and then...
And they're coming on the 12th.
And they're going to come here, and we will ask them the same question, so we'll see where it goes. Otherwise, and that meeting with Peter will be on November 6th, I assume, right? He's in it 5th.
And if I can just add, I mean,
Okay.
if you guys recall, Jim and I met with Dan Healy and Pete Landon back in September about this issue. And that was the main question we asked them, because we said, we do a lot of this transparency stuff. We're very transparent with our budget. We're working on a new website, all these things. And the union question and the contract question is probably the biggest question we have, and it's the one that we haven't seen an answer to yet. So hopefully you see an answer at FinSub. Because I feel like, if we budget and we say, okay, well, here's 2%, well, then does that mean that it's on the table? I mean,
That's what you need to be
that's the
careful of.
question.
That's the question, right? So we're going to ask it again and see how, there are ways you can deal with it, but you have to make it clear in the budgeting process. And kind of move forward from there, I guess, is the real thing. The other aspect, since I am talking right now, I'll just tee up for next meeting. I'd like to talk about, we've got many subcommittees in process. We don't have a subcommittee at all looking at how to reduce our expenses. We talk about projections, and we talk about expenses, and we know we have labor increases because they're contractually in place, of course. But we actually don't actively look at how to reduce expenses. And many companies will invest actually a significant amount of money to reduce overall operating expenses because you can do cost payback periods. And we ought to at least actively look at what we could do to reduce our costs so that we are good stewards of the town money, and when we go forward with in our meetings asking for increased budget, we know that we've done our homework everywhere we can. So I would suggest that it's something that we can talk about next time, because it's getting somewhat late here, and I can tee it up again, but just to get it in people's mind.
We can add it to the
something to
agenda.
look at.
Yeah, we're happy to do that. Last year, we did look at what could be cut, and we did make cuts, which is how we came in
Right.
well under the 800,000. But I agree, we should be doing that annually as we talk about a zero-based budget.
Right.
So we can add it to the agenda for next time.
Yeah, I think it'd be worthwhile to have an active discussion around what would the guidelines be, what would it look like. My personal experience in different businesses and what it looks like, and I'm sure other people have experiences as well in it, and how would we make it work in a municipal
Right.
forum, which is a little bit different for me.
Right. Oh, yeah, definitely. And if you have anything you want to have, like, an outline that you want to add to the packet,
Yeah, I'll do that.
that would be helpful. And we can take it from there. John?
Could I just remind the committee, though, that last year when we presented our budget, after going through the whole process, there was no one in the audience from the Finance Committee to ask any questions. It was only after the fact that the Select Board started with their presentation of a budget. So, I mean, if we're talking about transparency here. I think we have a better record of transparency. And open and free discussions. I mean, our meetings are open to the public. The only way we could possibly deal with, say, putting a 2% figure in there for negotiations would be if it was a secret.
Right.
Okay? But if you're going to commit to transparency, then, well, you're not going to put that figure in there.
Right.
So, I would just like to remind everyone in the audience and ourselves that we did a pretty good job, I think an excellent job last year of preparing our budget and what our wants and needs were. And we weren't the villains in the piece.
I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And that's going to be the question that's really going to make or break us adopting these guidelines is how do you answer the question of increases? Because we know that next year we're going to have that conversation with the LEA. And we're going to have it again after that contract expires and in perpetuity. So we need that answer. Hopefully they have it for you guys at the next finance subcommittee meeting, and they have it for us on the 12th when they come, because that's
the issue.
That's the issue.
It's a significant issue. So again, I guess it's on the 5th, not the 6th, but it'll be before our next meeting anyway, so we'll talk to them then and go from there.
Great. And any other questions for Jim on that? Okay. Seal?
I have a report this time, actually. So Sue shared that the DESE has finished their program review, and overall we fared very well. They're still waiting for the ELL results, but I think many districts are, just because there's an upheaval right now with ELL. So with the exception of ELL, the improvement plan has been submitted, and now they're just waiting for the approval from DESE on that. So everything seems to be going smoothly. She says that the school year has started really wonderfully, that the life skills program is a model program. It's amazing. Students and staff are both thrilled with how things are going. Families are really pleased. The staff has been amazing. They recruited a teacher from Australia, which I think is really cool. And she and I'm sure Tom are watching tuition lines very closely. While grants are down, circuit breakers are up, but things are sort of evening out in that respect. So she will be here when DESE approves the improvement plan.
Great. You've gotten a lot of emails on that. So, perfect. Collaborative.
Collaborative is pretty much basic stuff. The only thing that's ongoing that might have some consequences, we're in collective bargaining with the bus drivers, and that's still nowhere near any sort of agreement, but it's ongoing.
All right, thank you. Policy?
We still have out our policies, I think, for 30 days of comment. And I've gotten some about the meal charging policy that we're going to bring back to committee this week. We have a meeting.
Were they submitted? Did you read them? Okay.
No.
Oh, no,
We've
people
gotten
emailed me.
comments. Okay.
Should I send them to you?
We've gotten comments via the form, but they've all been, they haven't been on that one, they've been on the sexual harassment policy. And it's all been positive, just saying, yes, we need the policy.
Right.
So will you send Diane
Yeah.
those comments just so we can coordinate that group?
Mhm.
Okay. And just a reminder to the community that those policies are on our website. We did our first reading at our last meeting 2 weeks ago. So at one of our November meetings, probably the second November meeting, we will be more than likely voting on them, unless there's some big changes that need to be made. Naming has not met, and I don't know if we need a meeting or not. I don't think so. Not at the moment. And kindergarten committee. Either one of you.
Well, as Marie had said in her report, we had our parent open forum last week, which was very positive. A lot of people showed up, a lot of people expressed, comments, concerns, had questions. So in writing all of that down, there are some definite questions that we need to address as a committee. We're meeting tomorrow at 3:30, and proceeding with our schedule of our timeline so that we can have a finalized report ready to submit to the committee.
Great. It was a good forum. I know that more than most of us were there. So, you know, pretty enlightening. Pretty interesting to see where people are on this issue. And it is getting around town because I've heard it from a lot of people as well. They have some thoughts. So, I'm not going to share them now.
Why?
So,
Because game's on.
game's on.
Game's on.
No, that's not the reason. Yes, it is. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. Anything else under reports? Anything else anybody else want to share? Okay. Overnight field trip request. In front of us is a request for the preliminary approval of a field trip for students traveling to France in 2014 in April for an immersion trip.
This isn't the preliminary. You already did the
Oh, we already voted on
preliminary.
it?
This is the real.
Approved the preliminary, you're right, so this is for the actual trip. Sorry, read that wrong. So do I have a motion?
I move on the recommendation of the superintendent that the school committee approve the overnight field trip request for students from Long Meadow High School to travel to France on April 11th, 2014 through April 25th, 2014.
It's a long trip. I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion?
Just a question, that's 14 days. That's going to exceed the April vacation.
It is.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, you lose a day coming and going. So for the expense that it's costing them to fly over, I thought it was reasonable to extend it a little bit. They'll be able to go to art museums and study historic sites, so I think it's worth approving.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So any other questions on that? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Seeing none opposed, the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to approval of warrants.
Okay, I move that the school committee approve the warrant batch number 2200 of the general operating fund for fiscal year 2014, dated 1 November 2013, in the amount of $111,828.40.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion carries.
I move that the school committee approve the warrant batch number 2201 of the special revenues and grant funds, dated 1 November 2013, in the amount of $3,246.88.
Second.
Yeah, motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion carries. Is that it for warrants, or you got one more?
That's it.
All right. Perfect. All right. That is it. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? All right. Motion carries. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back on Tuesday, November 12th at 7 o'clock p.m. Town meeting is next Tuesday at 7 o'clock at the gymnasium. And we'll see you then.